So recently, there's been an interest in some of the older Final Fantasies when you're like, where does this character come from? And one of those, Final Fantasy II, has a reputation as a bit of a strange game. Is it worth playing? Welcome to Intermarifica, New Mexico, the channel where we look at things of wonder from the perspectives of faith and reason, philosophy and theology. I'm your host, Daniel Kelly, and today we're looking at some of the wonders of the culture, some of my favorite, the Final Fantasy video games. I've played these since I was a little kid, and I'm really happy because the new set from Wizards of the Coast for their trading card game, and I have thoughts on that, but that would be a different video, just came out, and so these older Final Fantasies are getting some interest. I already did a video on Final Fantasy 1. You can go check that out if you want to. I'll link it in the description. But Final Fantasy 2 is where you see some of the patterns of the first 10. I would say the first 10 Final Fantasies have a kind of pattern and kind of group together in many ways, and you see the patterns start to emerge in Final Fantasy 2. So one of these patterns is every even-numbered Final Fantasies, and you could say for even past 10, but the game's changed so drastically after 10, I'll just focus on the first 10, where the even-numbered games focus more on characters and storyline than the odd-number one. So the first Final Fantasy had very, very little storyline, and I talk about that more in my video on it, but the second one focuses more on storyline. And I really, really like this aspect of it because it can do things that aren't as effective in any other medium. So I like stories that can only be told in the medium they're told in. And there are some video games that utilize their video game medium to tell a cool story. So I like that. But before I go on, I need to let you know that there will be some spoilers for this game. And if a game is this old and you don't want to be spoiled, just go play it. I encourage you, go play it. So Final Fantasy II has a reputation of being a little bit weird in that they tried a new system for leveling up. And this is one of the most controversial aspects of it. If you like Final Fantasy II, it's because of this. If you dislike it, it's because of this. So let's go into that. For the level up system, the more you use something, the better you get at it, which is really cool. But it's also weird how you get those levels. For me, I love that aspect because I like trying to make weird builds and weird maximizations. But that's going to be whether you dislike it or like it is on the level system. One of the good things, for me, I don't think you can go look stuff up to see, oh, how do I level that up? How do I do that? I think it's really cool to experience a different system that hasn't been used very much. It is janky, kind of like a lot of these older games. One of the things I like about Final Fantasy II is its length. A lot of these newer games, the newer Final Fantasy, a lot of newer games, take forever. You have to pour too much time, and if you're a busy guy, that's not too good. If you have family, all these other commitments, these older games, this one will take you between 20 and 30 hours to complete. That's pretty doable. That's pretty good. I like that. Another thing I like about Final Fantasy II is how it opens up the world so that you can be fighting monsters way before you're ready to fight them, and they'll just kill you. I like that. I like it because when you get more powerful, you can go back to places that you'd already been and say, no, now I can beat these. So in that sense, it's a little bit open world. Final Fantasy II, there's different versions. I grew up playing the one on the Game Boy Advance, and I really like that one. I'll talk more about that in a bit. But the Pixel Remaster does something funny with this, because you can turn off encounters in the Pixel Remaster, which is cool, because then you can kind of cheat and get to areas you couldn't get to without some real hardcore trying and running away from monsters and stuff. So like, for example, you can get to Mysidia, the mage town, and get some of the really powerful spells, which is really cool in Final Fantasy II, changes it a lot, because you can start leveling those up right away, because they're more powerful spells that normally you wouldn't get later. And in Final Fantasy II, one of the bad things was a lot of your beginning spells are some of your most powerful because you've just used them the most. Your beginning stuff, you've used the most, so it's leveled up the most. But I like in the Pixel Remaster, you can turn off monsters, go to Mysidia, get those powerful spells, and level them up. So you can try different builds that weren't viable in the other thing. So the storyline. In the even-numbered Final Fantasy, storyline is a big part. And I really like the storyline in Final Fantasy 2, in that it takes your expectations and, okay, these are your 4 characters. You've got, you see they're trying stuff out. The 4 main characters kind of have plot armor, except right away, one of your characters, boom, killed. I like that. So they're taking that, they're playing with your expectations. Also, they do, to start it off, this is kind of a cliche in some video games now, but it starts with at the time you start in a fight, you can't win, which is a storytelling thing you can't do in a different medium to show forth how powerful the bad guys are. In another, you can't put yourself in the shoes of people who are losing, and you're striving in the video game, you're striving to win, and they just kill you. I love that. Also, in Final Fantasy 1, you have these 4 characters that are your 4 main characters. Final Fantasy 2 does that too, except it takes one of yours and makes him the bad guy. And this is such an effective thing that Dark Knight character becomes a trope in the Final Fantasies where they use him a lot. And I like that. I think it's really cool. I'm not sure if the timeline works quite right, where he becomes really high up in the bad guy ranks seemingly too quickly. I don't think the timeline works on that. But I think it's a really cool thing that wouldn't be effective in other storytelling mediums. That's really cool. Also, there is no plot armor in this game. I love it that your characters, your 4th character slot, they didn't have you be able to change out party members and stuff. So this is the big spoiler part. Skip like a minute or 2 ahead if you don't want this part. But your characters keep dying, and that's really cool. That's the advantage the Game Boy Advance version has, where you get all these characters you leveled up that died in the end, and you can reuse them, and that's really cool. But I like how it takes these, how do we tell stories in this video game medium, and sees what you can do effectively. So I really like that in Final Fantasy II. So basically, the bottom line for Final Fantasy II is it's janky, and if you're not really into JRPGs, you're probably not going to like it. But if you do like JRPGs and you want to try something different and see how it started, then I can recommend it. It's one of my favorite of the older ones. It's short, it is janky, but it's a very fun play. I hope that was helpful for you. You have a great day. God bless.